Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, welcome in, race fans. It's the Pony Express GT3 Challenge, and what a track we are at this week here. Long Beach Circuit, one of my favorites. Welcome in. This is Racers Nexus. I'm Rob Campbell, subbing in for Stephen Kurnick here this evening, who is a little bit without power over in the mighty continent of Africa, South Africa to be more specific. But we're in the middle of qualifying here right now, but let's take a look and see just a little bit of detailed information about where we are this week. You can see we are at Long Beach, the halfway point of the season here. 1.95 miles in length, 11 turns, and just barely above sea level here right now. Only 10 feet above sea level. We're at the beach. You can see it off in the distance there as the race progresses. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of a little bit of shopping as it is out there too as well. But there we are. As I mentioned, qualifying underway. We'll get to those results here in a minute. But first, let's take a look at the format. Same as it's been all season here for these drivers. 45 minutes of practice. That's done, dusted. They're in the middle of qualifying right now. They have 4 laps of qualifying. The race 1 hour long. It technically is a sprint race. A little bit of a mini endurance race. Sprint race all wrapped up in one. They do get 2 fast repairs. Unlimited sets of tires. It is fixed setup. The only thing they can adjust is the brake bias. 40% fuel load, which means they're going to have to make at least 1 pit stop here. And you've been following this series over the season. You've seen that there is some times where they have to make multiple pit stops. 15 incident points will net them a drive-through penalty. 5 more incident points after that will net them a second drive-through penalty, and then every 5 incident points after that too as well. Something our drivers are going to have to be cognizant of out there this evening. Let's take a look and see the calendar. As I mentioned, we're at the halfway point here, Long Beach. Next week, they're going to head to Fuji Speedway over in Japan. Love that track too as well. Hockenheim for round 8, back to the US for VIR for round 9, then the 2-hour finale at Road Atlanta for round 10. Double points race, that'll be an interesting one. Once we get to that point in time, let's take a look at the weather here this evening. 83-degree air temp, 96-degree Fahrenheit track temp. It's about relatively average here for Long Beach. In southern sunny California, no rain in the forecast, partly cloudy, although it looks like it's mostly sunny out there to me than partly cloudy, but that's what iRacing is telling us. As you see Keon Maduro out there right now, sharp-looking Mustang putting in some lap times. But before we get to have a look at how the qualifying is running right now, let's take a look at our points championship. First up the pro side, Terry Cowger Jr. comes in leading the way, 1,529 points. That's 32 points ahead of Nick Terrell in second place, and then Terrell another 113 points ahead of Javi Sierra in third. Ryan Tyler and Matthew Markley going to round out the top 5 with Paul Skip, Dakota Geyer, Alex Flasco, Dex Lindring, and Matt Barber rounding out our top 10 drivers in Pro Class. In AM, Keith Roycroft leading the way, 125 points ahead of Russell Abraham, with 1 point shy of that 1,500 mark. Ryan Stone in third, Jonathan Cooper in fourth, Dittmer, Welsh, Banks, Badja Jr., Maduro, who we just saw on track, and Stephen Charsley around our top 10 AM drivers. So there we go. The stage is set now. We can get into qualifying here and take a look and see how drivers are working right now. Terry Cowger Jr. currently sitting up top of qualifying. He has put in a 118.85 for his fast lap. Ken Huber currently in second place. Half a second back of him, Jose Sierra in third. The red number plates are for our pro class drivers. The white, I guess it's whitish gray, I guess silver almost. Those are our AM drivers. We do have a number of drivers that are serving end line penalties. Looks like Travis Roberto, Roycroft, Sierra, Tyler, Terrell, Cooper, Abraham, Geyer, and potentially Stan Hammonds. All drivers are going to have to start at the end of the pack. They will not be able to qualify. So we're on board here with Troy Banks, currently sitting 8th overall in qualifying. His best time, 1:20.07. Troy Banks got him in 8th place. His traditional all black, flat black paint job. Looks like he's going to... I'm not sure if that was intentionally missing the brake marker for turn 1 or not, but he has went off into the corner. Looks like Troy and Michael Childers are our last 2 cars on track right now. Currently looking to put in qualifying times. And then if you're sitting out there wondering, you know what, how can I get involved in this series? All you gotta do is hop into the description of the video here. You'll find the Discord link for not only us here at Racer Nexus, but for the league itself. Hop in there, get yourself signed up. It is a free league. They do take donations to help cover the cost and broadcasting. And then you too can be out here on track racing with these drivers that you see on screen. It's a lone driver right now is Michael Childers, but Long Beach, this is one of my favorite tracks to cover a race at. I like all the street circuits, but Long Beach itself, just the track location. Who doesn't like going to the beach? And then when you can go to the beach and do a little bit of racing, even better for you. So lots of fun to be had here coming up. 60 minutes of racing on the line. Looks like we got Stan Hammonds there. Oh, I mentioned that Stan maybe had in the line penalty, but he's come out late in the session here to put in a lap time in the Sky Lounge Ford Mustang. Bright color car. You can't say that you're going to miss that one on track if you're another driver out there competing here this evening, but we haven't seen Hammonds for a number of weeks here. Part of the Sky Lounge team, which is also a number of drivers here in the session. We've got Russell Abraham and Jonathan Cooper, also off the top of my head, representing the Sky Lounge team, who are serving end line penalties here this evening. I guess we could call them success penalties, if you will. Basically, the way it works in this league is if you finish top 3, podium position in each one of the classes, your reward, I guess, is starting at the end of the line the following race. So you're going to have to now work your way up through the field. See how those drivers do. Got 22 cars set to grid right now in the session. See if all the drivers do make their way to the grid here this evening. Ooh, stand into the wall. That's going to disrupt that lap. Michael Childers has completed his 4 laps. He's just out there putting in some extra lap time. Currently saying 6th overall. Second in class is Mr. Childers. So he's going to call it quits on his run too as well. So that's going to remove all the drivers from the session here in qualifying. We'll just wait for the clock to tick over to finish things up. Again, if you're interested, you can find the link to the league in the Discord, the league's Discord in the channel description below here. Hop in, get yourself signed up. They do still have the back half of the season. You may not be in the run for the points championship, but you'll get a feel for the league. You'll find out exactly how things are structured here and how much fun that this league actually is. Race with these guys in number of seasons back. We've been covering them for a couple seasons here now. Very clean racing, respectful racing. So if you're looking for a league that has a lot of respectful, clean racers, this is the one you want to join here this evening. There we go. Qualifying has finished up here. Let's give timing scoring a second here to reset, and then we'll take a look at the grid and see how our teams are going to stack up here this evening. Okay, for round 6 of 12 here, we got Terry Cowger Jr. starting on the pole with Ken Huber to his outside. Jose Sierra in 3rd place with Keon Maduro going to start in 4th place. Behind them in row 3 is going to be Jason Brothers and Michael R. Childers. 7th place goes to Justin Taragno with Troy Banks in 8th. Then right out in the top 10, we're going to find Ryan Jeeben and James Foreman in the Skeleton Rexy paint scheme on that Porsche. In row 6, Kevin Cornelius in 11th with Brandon Dittmer going to start in 12th place. 13th place is going to be where Joshua Susi, and beside him will be Nick Terrell. Stan Hammond's in the Ford Mustang in 15th place with Ryan Tyler in the Red Bull Lambo in 16th to his outside. 17th place, we're going to find Javi Sierra and Dakota Geyer going to start in 18th place in the Ascension Ford Mustang. Right out in the top 20, we got Russell Abraham in 19th and Jonathan Cooper in 20th. Again, I mentioned 2 of those drivers serving end-of-line penalties. Keith Roycroft in 21st with Travis Roberto in 22nd. I believe those are 2 more end-of-line penalty servers. And they are going to be shotgun on the field in 21st and 22nd. So there you go, 22-car grid. Looks like we're waiting for Nick Terrell and Travis Roberto to hit the grid. And then we'll be getting things set here for our 60 minutes of action coming your way. So there we go. We're just waiting on Roberto. And then our grid will be set. Looks like he is potentially either not going to grid up or going to be starting from the pits here this evening. Keep an eye on that to see whether he does make the grid or not, but field is pulled away. Terry Cowger Jr. and Ken Huber going to lead them around. Let's bring up timing and scoring here. It's Brian. Oh, sorry, pardon me. Let's try to figure out why. Is that Brian Zinn that's popped into the booth here now?
Hey, good evening, Rob.
Sorry, I didn't recognize the name there, Zinn. I kept kicking you out of the booth. You need to get that changed to your proper name here so we know who that is in the session.
Didn't realize I didn't have server permissions to do that, but I'll talk to Terry after the race for that. But, well, Long Beach, typical start back there in the hairpin, looks like.
Yeah, things a little clogged at the back end, but field tucked in behind Terry Cowger Jr. We are green, and green means go, and away we go here into turn 1. Terry Cowger Jr. going to get the whole shot over Huber in 2nd place, but things can go awry here into turn 1's in, but looks like Huber going to get top spot away from Cowger Jr. Cowger Jr., a wily old vet. He knows that it's a long race. Nothing really necessary to fight for here, although it is tough to pass at Long Beach, but plenty of time still ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely hard to pass, but you definitely don't want to risk throwing it all the way on lap 1, turn 1, as evidenced there by our top 5, 6, 7 guys all make it through the fountain section out onto the first of the straightaways. Clean start relative, looks like, Rob, through the first 10, 15 cars back there, but Huber definitely getting the better launch to start the race over, as you said, the wily veteran Terry Cowger Jr.
Yeah, Keon Maduro, our top AM driver right now, currently sitting in 4th place. Nice start for him. He's trying to stay linked up with the top 3 pro drivers who are trying to break away from the field here. We got a Lamborghini, a Porsche, a Ferrari, a Ford Mustang, then another Porsche, and a McLaren, and a Corvette. Nice mix of cars here in the top 10s, and something we don't see the last couple seasons. Been more or less Ferrari dominant so far this season in any kind of fixed racing, with the Mustang coming on as the halfway point of the season comes in. So nice to see a nice mix of manufacturers.
Yeah, this is the beautiful part, is there's a spin back there in the hairpin, but yeah, this is the beautiful part about league racing. You don't have the meta cars, as people refer to them. It's really just about what you're comfortable in and how you feel you get up to pace quickest. So
let's take a look. Looks like Brandon Dittmer might have been the car that spun in the background. That chrome, blue, and pink machine Mercedes, hard to miss out there, but into the final corkscrew they go. And oh yeah, just a little too ambitious on the go pedal there, Zin, and around he went, unfortunately for him.
yeah, a little bit too much torque on the loud pedal there out of that Mercedes V8, but didn't touch the wall, which is good. Certainly hard to do with how narrow the walls are, especially in the hairpin corner, but he'll get that straightened out and look to make his way back up. Still a long way to go. 57 minutes to go in this race, as everybody looks to be single file, at least through the top 15 that I can see, as we ride on board with Justin Targagno with that gorgeous 7-Up livery. I think that's a new one for him this season, but it looks great. That chrome green and blue paint scheme, Rob. It's kind of a 90s throwback as well. It looks very nice on that McLaren.
Yeah, I love me some 7-Up, especially with a little bit of gin mixed in it there too as well. And I mean, this is a family program, but doing well right now. He is up 1 spot. He's taken that position away from Michael Childers, who's dropped back 1 spot in the Corvette. But a couple of drivers who are on the move here, serving end-of-line penalties to start. Nick Terrell in the McLaren. I'm not used to seeing him in the McLaren. Usually anytime I see him, he's driving the Porsche, but he's got the, it looks like Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine theme paint job on that McLaren. He's got Stan Hammons right in behind him on that bright Sky Lounge Mustang. Both these drivers up 5 spots from where they started, so moving their way through the field here so far, is up into the top 10.
Yeah, I was just about to point that out. For Long Beach being a tough place to pass, Terrell and Hammonds both have found a way through the first 3 laps of this race to be able to move up 5 spots apiece. So taking advantage of the congestion in the hairpin stack up that happened, and just being able to find pace, get temperature in their tires quicker than others. So we'll see if they can continue their charge. They've got the McLaren of Troy Banks, not in class, but it is an overall position ahead of them. As Jason Brothers, he's up 1 position. He's ahead of our... Well, he was up 1 position, but he was looking to make a move on our AM leader, Keanu Maduro.
Yeah, this was how he got up that spot. It looks like Maduro might have got a slowdown through turn 5. Might have cut too much of that corner, and that's where Brothers made the move up into 4th place now. So that's going to move, as you mentioned, our AM leader Maduro back, and that's going to put him right in front of Targagno, we were just talking about. Nice run for him. He's up 1 spot. He, Childers, and Banks going to be licking their lips here now, Zin, and potentially trying to take that top spot away from Maduro.
Yeah, not too many places you can just slow down around Long Beach, but Maduro there, if any of our keen-eyed viewers saw it there, he was flirting with it on the exit of that exit line of pit lane. If you cross too far over, you'll pick up a slowdown penalty for that as well. But either way, as you said, he's fallen into the clutches of this AM battle of Maduro, Targagno, Childers, and Banks, a 4-car battle for the lead in our AM class.
Yeah, Childers was having a look up the inside of Targagno. He's anxious to try and get that position back that he's lost early on here from Justin. So we'll see here how long Childers wants to stay tucked in behind, but he's also going to keep an eye on Troy Banks. He's lurking right in behind. So right now Childers is the Corvette in a bit of a Macca sandwich with Nick Terrell in the McLaren, and Stan Hammond is lurking in behind. So we'll see here how quickly Childers tries to dispatch of Targagno and get back up there and potentially try and battle with Maduro. But up front, Terry Calgary Jr. has gotten himself back around Ken Huber. So that Porsche back out leading the sharp end of the field. The Lambo relegated down to 2nd. And the Ferrari of Jose Sierra still where he qualified in 3rd place. So our top 3 qualifiers all back to their starting positions here now. Zin, it's almost like we reset the race with only 5 minutes gone.
Yeah, you had to figure this was inevitable with the pace that Calgary Juniors displayed over seasons past here in the Pony Express League, and certainly utilizing the strengths of the rear engine traction of the Porsche to get around the Lamborghini is well, it was a little bit of a drag race down into turn one, Rob. Flat six versus V10 power, last of the late breakers, tucks it up the inside. Very classic Long Beach maneuver, and had to immediately go on the defensive. Huber did, to not give up a place to Jose Sierra in the Ferrari behind, who has been absolutely rapid since he's come into the league a few races ago. And I expect him to be trying to find a way around the Lamborghini. But certainly so far, it does not seem like the Ferrari is suited to the tight confines of Long Beach. It certainly seems to be favoring the Porsches and the Lamborghini and the McLaren instead.
Yeah, the tight quarters here of Long Beach should play well to the Porsche being able to hammer onto the throttle, get into those corners with the rear the only rear motor car in the field allows you to get back into the throttle a little quicker than some of the other cars, where the mid motor Ferrari going to struggle a little bit. The mid motor cars in general kind of struggle a little bit in mid corner. They kind of stall out. They got quick turn in, but then the car just kind of stalls, and on these slow corners, it's really tough to get that car around. So we'll see here if Sierra can start to close that gap, as it looks like he's falling back a little bit from Huber here now. But let's go a little farther back in the field. We got some battles going on farther back, as we got James Foreman in the skeleton Rexy paint theme. He's got Javi Sierra right on his bumper. So Ford versus Porsche here as they battle in through turn 5. Ryan Tyler right there too as well, another one of the Lamborghinis. So nice to see a number of drivers representing the Lamborghini here tonight, Sin.
Yeah, definitely. I feel it's kind of underrepresented in official races, but Ryan Tyler had a fantastic race last week out, and was at the back of the pack, I believe, as a result of that. The performance EOL for being a high finisher in previous races. That's how Pony Express does it.
He's made up another spot as he got around Ryan Jeevan trying to make one up again, but Dakota Geyer moves to the inside of Jeevan here as well. He's going to pick up that spot. So Ryan Jeevan just lost a number of spots here early on. He's actually down 6 spots. So it looks like the Mercedes not real copacetic here with Jeevan. Now he's going to feel some pressure from Jonathan Cooper and Russell Abraham right in behind the Acura. It looks like the lone Acura in the field here is with Cooper. Tardogno early into the pits here is in. I'm not sure if this is a scheduled stop for him or not, but he is in.
Yeah, normally 2 pit stops out of our drivers in these 1-hour races, so he may have decided it would be best to take his short stop early, get out of that 4 or 5 car train that he was stuck in. The Macca's sandwiching the Corvette, as you referred to it earlier. But Jonathan Cooper and his trusty old Acura NSX, he sure is a weapon behind the wheel of this car. He's found a way to maximize the pace out of that car, which, as an Acura fan myself, I certainly appreciate. But he is giving tons of pressure to the Mercedes of Jeevan in front of him. That will be for 5th in class. Cooper currently running 6, runs a bit wide there, but closes right back up in the brakes, and he will look to try and make a move down into the next heavy braking zone. As somebody in the Mercedes back there smacks the outside wall, that is not going to help your alignment, sir.
Yeah, I think that might have been Kevin Cornelius that tagged the wall. Oh, speaking of tagging the wall, we just saw it there. Ryan Jeevan tagged the wall, and he's going to immediately tow. So rough race for him. I mentioned he's already down 6 spots. That's going to be 1 more spot lost there for him. But the Acura, as you were mentioning, is in. It's not a whole. Doesn't get a whole lot of representation in many leagues or official racing anymore. But it's one of the smaller GT3s, which should bode well here at Long Beach. It is mid-motor, so it does have that natural tendency to kind of stall out mid-corner, but it is a little shorter wheelbase compared to some of the other ones and a little narrower, I find, so it should actually work well here at Long Beach for Cooper, so we'll keep an eye on him as he attempts to move up through the field. But just up ahead of them, we got James Foreman still trying to hold off Javi Sierra and Ryan Tyler, as they've kind of lost touch with Hammonds and Terrell, who've broken away up ahead of them now. So this 3-car battle is for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Foreman is an AM class driver, currently 4th in class. Sierra and Tyler both in our pro class, 7th and 8th and all overall. So it's still you're fighting for bragging rights and pride here, Zin, and every position matters in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I've mentioned in weeks past, at the end of the day, these guys are racers, they're competitors, and it doesn't matter if this is an in-class position or not, it's somebody ahead of them on track, and nobody likes to be behind somebody else. But give an idea of how hard Sierra is pushing to try and get around the Porsche Foreman. You can tell that left front's had a coming together with a concrete barrier somewhere at this point. It's got a little bit of an indentation there, so it doesn't seem to be hampering the pace overall, but the pace of Foreman kind of holding up Sierra has allowed Ryan Tyler to close in behind, and that is an A-class position. As Nick Tyrrell, another McLaren, makes his way down pit road. Very interesting. Nick Tyrrell has usually been one of the last to come to pit road, so changing up the strategy game from what we've seen in weeks past. Not sure if that's a symptom of where he was in relation to other cars on track, or just maybe that's two McLaren, so maybe something with the McLaren fuel mileage around here, Rob, not going as well as some of the other cars.
Maybe. Oh, as we hop on board here with Keith Roycroft, rough through turn 5 for him. He's going to kiss that left side wall. He was trying to put some pressure on Russell Abraham up ahead, and you see how quickly Abraham was able to run away from them. So Roycroft going to have to regroup here and try and chase them back down. But you know what I'm wondering here as we're talking about the pit stops, Long Beach, as you mentioned, Nick Terrell usually runs it to the very last second, usually finds a way to get that extra lap of fuel out of the car in each race that I kind of watch, or any of them that I've covered. But I'm wondering here, with Long Beach being so tight, and maybe he sees a little bit of open track space, so he can find, if he ducks in now, gets that fuel service done, maybe he can find some clean track, put in some hot laps, and maybe he can leapfrog a number of these drivers just through pit strategy, as he did have the end line penalty. So he's going to try and find, an alternate strategy here to maybe what Calgary Jr., Huber, or Sierra are going to try to get himself up front.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is maybe going a little bit off pace, getting some clean air, getting congested early on, and doing nothing for his lap times. And, well, you save your tires better, too, when you're running in clean air. And everybody knows that traction is king around the streets of Long Beach. As we see Troy Banks, he's got his fellow friend Stan Hammonds behind him in the Pink Sky Lounge Motorsports Mustang. Good to see Stan back. He was missing the last week or two, but always fun to see Stan on track.
And who doesn't love listening to the Ford Mustang roar around the streets of Long Beach as well? I can't wait for iRacing to implement the reverb off the walls. The racing at the street circus is going to be a blast here soon.
Yeah, I'm only hopeful that they do that at the same time we get the Valkyrie, as I want my auditory eardrums shattered from V12 and rumbling V8 goodness. But, well, Terry Calgary Jr., he may have dropped behind Huber at the start of the race, but he has worked his way around a few laps ago and just fired off into the distance. SpaceX didn't have a launch site in California, but you wouldn't know it with the way Terry Calgary Jr.'s just launched out to an almost 3-second lead already in a few laps time, as he's utilizing that Porsche's traction to his fullest advantage at the moment. And both of them have dropped the Ferrari of Sierra, which is very unusual. As I said, Sierra has had rapid pace since coming onto the scene a few races ago, and just cannot seem to get the pace out of that Ferrari, which is unusual. The braking in the Ferrari is phenomenal, which you would think would be an asset around Long Beach, but something about that car and the fixed setup just does not seem to be agreeing, as Jason Brothers and our AM leader Maduro have started reeling in the Ferrari of Sierra, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe there's a little strategy at play here, Zin, as we were talking about Nick Terrell potentially coming in on his fuel stop for strategy early on. I'm wondering now maybe if the top three have got a little strategy developing here now, where they've backed off, they got their target lap time they're trying to hit. Maybe they can try and eke out maybe only one stop, or maybe at the very least a quick little splash at the end, and maybe that's what's allowing them to kind of lose a little bit of pace here. As I'm looking at the last few laps, they were all into the 120s, with their best laps being in the mid 119s, and then this time they've picked it back up. So there goes maybe my strategy idea out the window, but we'll keep an eye on that and see how it progresses. But we got a battle a little further back here. Ryan Tyler has now caught up to Javi Sierra up ahead. So Sierra in the Mustang, Tyler in the Lamborghini, the Red Bull Lamborghini, trying to put a ton of pressure on the back of Sierra. Sierra up 9 spots, so nice run for him so far. Tyler up 7 spots, so both of them making some nice gains here early on, Zin, and they're not actually that far ahead of James Foreman, who's lurking right in behind our 4th place Porsche driver in the Rexy skeleton paint, and then actually Dakota Geyer has caught up to this battle now too as well. So we might see a 4-car battle here for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th in a matter of corners.
Yeah, Foreman was actually ahead of Sierra and Tyler, so they've both been able to get around the AM driver. But I think in that battle, as you said, that's allowed Dakota Geyer to close up and make this a 4-car battle. As Joshua Sucksea here is going to be trying to navigate the hairpin. So you can have a nope, almost a touch.
Just a light kiss.
Just stick your hand out and brush the wall. Make sure all the stickers are accurately applied there. But Justin Targdong, no, my apologies, has come out of the pits right onto the back of the Sky Lounge Motorsports Mustang of Stan Hammonds. And Nick Tyrrell, who has also stopped, has come out. Hammonds has come in and pit as well. So all three of these guys have come in for pit stops. This is a battle for actual position, and they will cycle up the order as cars in front of them make their way down this long pit road. I would say this is quite a long pit road. It's not maybe Road America or Indianapolis long, but it feels like it takes forever because I think you're doing like 30 miles an hour pit speed limit down here, Rob.
Yeah, I think a lot of the frustration with the pit time at Long Beach is that pit road speed limit, as you mentioned. It's just so slow, and that's why we see Long Beach a lot of time in the officials, in the shorter officials, where drivers end up doing no stop racing just by backing off the pace a little bit and saving enough fuel that they don't need to make that stop. But it looks like Nick Tyrrell was able to leapfrog Hammonds through that early stop, and I can't remember if Targdogno was ahead of them or not. So right now it looks like that strategy coming in earlier has worked out for Tyrrell, but now he has to try and keep Hammonds and Targdogno behind him. So they're the leaders of the cars who have pit so far. It looks like Cooper has come in as well. Cornelius and Abraham, all 5 of those drivers have completed, or 6 of those drivers have completed their pit stops here as in. So we got some strategy from the mid-pack drivers here. We'll see how that works out. We'll see what the leaders counteract with here as the race progresses. But we are nearing the 20 minutes into this race so far, and it doesn't feel like it's been that deep into the race so far here, Zin. So strategy plays are, I find it intriguing.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I looked at the clock and said to myself that it really does not feel like it's been 20 minutes already, and I'm sure that is what a lot of our drivers are saying as well. It just flies by, and the strategy really, I think, comes into play more around a street circuit than it does a lot of other circuits, because you just can't exercise outright pace. There's just too much traffic. As you see in here, you're looking ahead out of the front windshield of Dakota Geyer's Ford Mustang, and you got 5 cars ahead, where even if you were to try and say outbrake the Porsche, the skeleton Rexy in front of you, you just have nowhere to go, and you end up losing time. So you make up, or you could lose a lot of time with a good or a bad pit stop around here.
Yeah, and we're seeing the field kind of bunch up, and they are in behind. I believe that is Hammonds, or sorry, not Hammond. I believe that's Russell Abraham just up ahead of them in the Porsche. So they've caught up to the back half of our field that's pit early on. So interesting. Now we'll see some drivers mixing in here with some of the other ones who haven't pit, and I'm having a look at the pit stop time. So I think this is where we can really get into the real depth of why some of the drivers might have come in early here is the cone-to-cone times for our drivers who have pit so far. We got 46 seconds for Taro, 47 for Hammonds, Targdogno 45, Cooper 48, 45 for Cornelius, 36 for Abraham. So real quick stop for him, but I'm not sure if that was just maybe a drive-through or not. But you get that long pit run down pit lane plus your time in the stall. We're only doing a minute 19, minute 20 laps. So if you figure your time in the stall 10 seconds, you're up and down pit road at 45 seconds. That's a lot of time you're giving up to everybody else on track. That's almost a lap. It's about 3/4, 70-80% of a lap here around Long Beach. So it's real pertinent that if you do come in early, that you find yourself at least back ahead of the leaders. You don't want to get yourself a lap down early on.
Yeah, and I touched on it a minute ago, but traffic management around Long Beach is such a crucial thing to master. And for these guys that have already done their pit stop, being able to, as Ryan Tyler has Oh no, we just went to the scenic cam. That threw me off. I thought he had a disconnection there for a minute. But yeah, traffic management. So for these guys that have not made their pit stop yet, they're not going to want to get stuck behind cars that have already made a pit stop. And for the cars that have made a pit stop, having to remember that they're not fighting to stay on the lead lap. They're just caught in a weird pit cycle, and maybe it's in their best interest to let the guys go and know that you're going to pass them once they have to make a trip down pit road. So a little bit of strategy at work here on how aggressive do you want to be defending if you are a lap down or about to go a lap down.
And we got two close battles on track right now. We got this one between Geyer and Foreman. That is for 10th and 11th place overall. And then we got the one we were just watching just ahead of them between Javi Sierra and Ryan Tyler. The rest of the field starting to get spread out a little bit here is in. We got Terry Calgary Jr., our leader, with about a 3.5 second gap over Ken Huber in second place. He's got about a second and looks like about 1.2 seconds over Jose Sierra in third place. His Childers now in for his stop. So we saw Sierra kind of fell back a little bit behind Huber. Looks like he's starting to close that gap. Oh, sorry, correction. He's 4 seconds behind Huber. It's Jason Brothers who is closing, continues to push forward here to chase down Sierra. That's for third and fourth overall, as well as third and fourth in class. And Maduro's still lurking in behind there. Our AM leader, he's comfortably 7 seconds ahead of Troy Banks in second place. So no real reason for Maduro to really push the envelope here. Is in just kind of put in the laps, click off the time here. We're nearing the halfway point. As long as he can stay ahead of Troy Banks, keep that gap, he should be comfortable here to potentially take the win. As James Foreman, our third place car in AM class, is another almost 20 seconds back of Maduro.
Yeah, we saw this last week out of Maduro as well. He was leading the AM class pretty comfortably before the pit stops happened, the first round of pit stops, and not sure what happened, but he had one of the longer pit stops of the entire field, and so that unfortunately dropped him way down the order. So we'll have to see if he has rectified whatever potential auto fuel issue or something else, maybe having tires checked that other guys are not doing. I did talk to Russell Abraham between races, and he was saying that with the amount of fuel that they take, they are actually able to change tires at the same time as fueling. So there are often times that drivers will take 2 or possibly even 4 tires. But around Long Beach, Rob, with some of these pit times that I'm seeing, 9-10 seconds stopped in the box, I don't think that's enough time to take tires. So Long Beach can be slightly abrasive, especially if the track temp is quite warm. So we'll be curious to see how the tire life is in, give it about 32 minutes time.
Yeah, speaking of track temps, let's take a look and see. Oof. So when we came on air, the track temp was about 96 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see that now. We've shot up another 16 degrees at this point in time in track temp. The air temperature is still relatively the same as what it was. So as this race progresses in, those tires are going to be a little more on the minds of these drivers.
Yeah, and it's not a high G load, as you see Jason Brothers dive in a pit lane, and the AM leader Maduro will follow him in, but it's not so much the G load through the corners that will eat up the life out of the rubber. It's the braking and the traction out of these 90-degree and hairpin corners that will do it. So definitely we'll be screaming for mercy with 112-degree track temp, and we'll see who has done the best job. Normally it's a fuel management game, but I suspect, Rob, this will be a tire management game here tonight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if maybe some drivers take fronts on their first stop and rears on their second stop. Saying that could be a strategy that unfolds here as the track temp continues to go up. As you know yourself, it's not a real high-speed track here, Long Beach, so you're not necessarily going to be burning up the front tires as much as you are the rear tires, trying to get out of the corners as quick as possible, especially if you're in one of these front-engine rear-wheel drive cars like Dakota Geyer is on camera. You got a ton of weight in the front end, which will really get you into the corners, but you don't have a whole lot of weight in the back end. You're kind of relying on that downforce, and slow cornering downforce is nowhere to be found. So it's going to be throttle modulation for a lot of these drivers exiting the slow corners.
Yeah, especially as the weight from the fuel burns off, you're going to have even more of a balance shift towards the front in these front engine cars of Sierra and Geyer and Hammonds as well. But Hammonds, he's had his pit stop as well as Tyrrell, so that's kind of the group that we're looking for. Everybody, I think, in front of Tyrrell, the first 7 cars as they run have not made pit stops, and timing and scoring does back that up. So 20 seconds is the gap. We'll have to see if that is enough to maintain position, or if some of those early stoppers can take advantage of the undercut. Quite a bit of a drastic undercut, anywhere from 10 or even 12 laps compared to some of the people that are pitting right now. So very, very dynamic strategy options that we're seeing, which we don't normally see in these races, Rob. Normally everybody pits within about 3 laps of each other, and you see some variety come the final stop, and that's all based on who's done the best at fuel saving. But very dramatic undercuts here tonight, which I have to say I'm a little bit surprised by.
I'm here for it. I love a good strategy call by either a team or a solo driver here, whether it's sim racing or real life racing. Just, you know what, try and do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. You never know. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it ends up in a massive failure. But if you start at the back of the pack and you kind of got mired mid-pack here early on in the race, you really don't have much to lose by coming in early on, getting that splash of fuel, maybe taking some tires, maybe not, find yourself some clean air and work your way through. As we head back to our drivers who did come in early on to pit stop. So that was Nick Terrell, Stan Hammonds, and Jason Brothers. They've got themselves back up into 8th, 9th, and 10th, and we'll see how much further they can go up. As it looks like the rest of the front end of the field here is coming in. Ryan Tyler has been able to find an extra lap of fuel for him. He's just going to go around one more time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is not Russell Abraham going around another lap as well. He has already made his pit stop, so this is really just him trying to get back on the lead lap. But yeah, normally Terry Calgary Jr. is the ace of finding an extra lap, but Ryan Tyler is looking to take that mantle off of him. But I want to say through the pit stops that Hammonds has jumped Brothers, as it looks like both him and... No, just Hammonds will... Oh, goodness, I was just talking about Brothers.
Oh man, he had a nice race going before the pit stops. We saw him closing in on them. Oh, Troy Banks coming through, almost gets into the back of him. There comes Childers. They say he was catching up to the back of Jose Sierra for... It was going to be a battle for 3rd and 4th place, but man, rough way to potentially end the race for him. Let's take a look and see what happened.
Yeah, not sure if maybe he was focused on the car coming out of the pits maybe and just lost his braking point. Oh goodness me,
he went in there with a ton of force. Yeah. that was a lot of force. I don't know, I wonder if maybe he just got a little bit of a rubberneck there watching the car come out, as you mentioned, Zin. But you know who's up into 4th place now is Nick Terrell. Stan Hammonds in 5th. So our 2 earliest pitters, looks like that strategy's worked out for them, Zin, but they're potentially going to owe us another spot, as they're actually looks like they're going to take spot away from Ryan Tyler too as well. So they're now up into 3rd and 4th place, plus 11 spots now.
Yeah, as you said, you love it when a strategy call works out, and for Nick Tyrrell and Stan Hammonds, who both started deep down in the field, they are making great use of their crew chiefs at the moment, as not only has Nick Tyrrell jumped up so far, but he is almost right on the back of Ken Huber, who in the early goings, the first couple laps, was really able to take the pace and actually be ahead of Terry Calgary Jr. But as the race has gone on, standard order has resumed, with Calgary firing off into the distance now. That gap up over, or just about 5 seconds. But Ken Huber, he's going to have the mystery machine filling up his camera very soon, and if these two get to battling, they're going to have the pink Mustang. I'm not going to say Peak Pony Club, actually I just did, but yeah, they're going to have Stan Hammonds to deal with as well. And well, based on their pace tonight, I suspect that they will be able to pull a gap on Sierra and the Ferrari, but being the first ones to come down pit road, I'm not sure how long this battle will rage before they have to come back down pit road.
Well, I'm having a look right now at the pace we're running here. Looks like we're going to be running about 40, maybe a little over 40 laps here when all said and done's in. Calgary Jr. and Huber came in on lap 19 and 20. So if they can save just a little bit of fuel here, I don't think they're going to need to stop again. So it looks like, although they may be a little back into the pack here right now, we know Terrell and Hammonds are going to have to come in for them to stop. There's no way they can get to the end of the race here without having another splash of fuel. So right now, if I'm Calgary Jr. and Huber, you know what, with Terrell right up on my back bumper for Huber, I might just let him go, knowing that he needs to come in for another stop, tuck in behind him, save that little bit of fuel to get yourself to the end of the race here without having to come in for another splash.
I would agree with you on that, and certainly for Nick Tyrrell, he's a very smart racer, having talked to him many weeks, and I'm sure he probably would have looked and done the fuel calculations at the start of the race to know whether or not a one-stop might be possible, and I think his calculations probably told him a two-stop was going to be required. So I think he's taken the gamble and placed his bets all in on a two-stop race, even for the front-running pair of Calgary Jr. and Huber. But between the two of them, based on their last pit stop, I would say that Calgary Jr. and Jose Sierra, both of them came in on lap 20, are the two that are in the best position to make this a one-stop race.
Yeah, it's I love it. I love the strategies, and I can't wait to see how it plays out as Terrell continues to put the pressure on Huber. This is exactly what he needs to do. As I mentioned, if I was Huber, I'd kind of let him go and tuck him behind, but if I'm Terrell, I'm trying to push him as much as I can. I want him to burn as much fuel as possible because I don't want him saving enough to not have to come in for another little splash. So the battle of the strategies here. Terrell wants to stay where he is. Huber would love to get into Terrell's spot, which is, you know, the opposite of what you normally see here is in. You normally see that driver trying to get ahead of the driver in front of him, not wanting to stay behind him. So a little bit of opposite strategy is what we normally see play out. But as we head a little farther back in the field here, we got Michael Childers, who is now caught up to the back of Troy Banks. It's a battle for in-class and AM-class. 4th and 5th place, just inside the top 10. 9th and 10th overall positions for those two drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this dynamic of the guys that are cruising around, doing a little bit of lifting and coasting in these heavy braking zones, and the guys like Nick Tyrrell that have just decided they're going to run flat out to the end and seeing which is going to come out on top in the end. I love it. You know, if you're not going to have a lot of on-track passing or at some place like Spa where you're going to have drafting in that sort of thing, I love seeing strategy come into play. So this is going to be a fantastic race to watch. We're down under 20 and almost under 26 minutes to go. So we'll see who comes out with all the money in the pot.
Yeah. For all the millions and millions at stake here right now, Terry Calgary Jr. in control of the field. He's got that gap up over 5 seconds now over Ken Huber, who has his hands full with Nick Tyrrell, as we were mentioning. But we've got another battle here as Ryan Tyler, he's in 11th place with Javi Sierra in behind him. They got Dakota Geyer not too far back of them either. So 11th, 12th, and 13th place here up for grabs. All three of these drivers in the pro class. So they're going to be battling each other tooth and nail. No real quarter given here as if they would if they were battling an opposite class car here's in. So Ryan Tyler feeling a ton of pressure from Sierra right now in that Lamborghini with the Red Bull paint scheme on it.
Yeah, and we were talking about Calgary Jr. and Jose Sierra being potentially in the catbird seat for doing a one-stop race. We completely forgot that Ryan Tyler got an extra lap out of his car. So he is actually the best out of everybody positioned to make this a one-stop race if we do go 40 laps. So it will be interesting to see. He's currently running P11 overall. He's got 5 AM cars in front of him. But we'll be curious to see if he's able to make up any positions near the end of this race as other cars have to make their way down pit road one more time.
Yeah, the first of those is Tar Dog. No, not surprising. We've seen him come in. I believe he's the first one that we saw come into the races, and so not surprising to see him come back again. But he should be good to go to the end of the race at this point in time. So he's going to have to wait for the rest of the field here to come in to see where he's going to cycle through. But Ryan Tyler unable to shake Javi Sierra off his rear bumper, continuing to try and find a way out of his clutches. But up ahead of them, Troy Banks, he can really hear the back of, the front end of Michael Childers. Flat plane V8 now lurking up and behind him as Childers now has caught the tailpipe of Banks. So we'll see who reigns supreme here out of these mid-engined V8 rocket ships, as in Childers in the Corvette and Banks in the twin-turboed McLaren.
Yeah, and going back to something that you said earlier, it might be in Banks's best interest to let Childers go if he can see that Childers was 4 laps sooner down pit road. There's probably no way that he can make it to the end of the race without having to go into the pits one more time, whereas for Banks, he came in on lap 20. He's in with a shot to make this a one-stop race, and it might be in his best interest to use the draft of the Corvette to do a little bit of extra fuel saving and not fight Childers if he is able to close that gap up and start putting some pressure on the McLaren.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you never know what kind of data any of these racers have up on their overlays for them for each race. I actually found, I haven't done a race in forever, but I actually found that when I had too much information on the screens in, that I actually ran slower, and I started removing a lot of the overlays and that I was using while I was racing, just kind of focusing on going forward. And I found that I put in better lap times. So we'll see. Maybe Banks has that information available to him when Childers pit. Maybe he doesn't. He just got to try and push forward. Every lap matters as much as the next one to Banks, but we'll see how that works out. But Nick Terrell, he has come in for his second stop here, Zin, so we'll see where he cycles back through. He was putting a ton of pressure on the back of Ken Huber, so I'm not sure if he's able to force Huber to burn off enough fuel that he won't be able to get through with only that one stop, but we'll have another 22 minutes or so to figure that one out.
Yeah, we'll be watching Tyrrell with interest, as he's really the first of our heavyweights up front that really leaned in heavily on this two-stop strategy, so we'll see how he shakes out. Looks like based on pit time, he took more fuel this time around, or potentially did some tire service as well, compared to his first stop, about 6 seconds longer. So that's the other trade-off you have, is if you take a short stop for your first one, you're going to have to make a longer stop for your second one.
Geyer has officially caught the back of Sierra and Tyler now. This is officially a 3-car battle for 5th, 6th, 7th in class, 9th, 10th, and 11th overall. As see a pair of Mustangs trying to find a way around the Lambo of Tyler. Looks like Brandon Dittmer out there with the slowdown flags. It'd be a rough race for him. He's had one to probably forget here. Zin in the Mercedes. Actually, looks like all 3 of our Mercedes drivers have found some sort of complications in this race. Looks like the Mercedes not all that fond of Long Beach.
No, and Roycroft looks like behind, wanted to join that party as well, as you saw him smack the wall exiting the corner before the back straightaway there. But certainly will be interesting to see how this plays out between the 3 cars of Tyler, Sierra, and Geyer, as well, Tyler's in the catbird seat when it comes to fuel mileage, or well, fuel strategy anyway, being the last to pit, but the 2 Mustangs behind only pit 1 lap before Tyler did, so could be utilizing the draft, as you said, using a playbook out of Tyrrell's page of pushing the Lamborghini into a faster pace than he would potentially want to run, but it doesn't matter, as Ryan Tyler runs wide and smacks the tire wall in turn 1. My goodness me, that is turned that battle on its head, Rob.
Oh man, let's take another look at that. He was leading this trio as they come down into turn 1. Takes it out wide to get a nice entry into turn 1. Just went wide. Oh, just clipped that tire barriers in, and then that's all it took. That was a heavy hit on the the right front corner of that Lambo. What a tough end of the race potentially for Ryan Tyler. And as you mentioned, I was looking forward to seeing how his fuel strategy was going to play out. He was the only driver that went 21 laps coming into the first stop. I think he probably would have had enough to potentially push it to the end here. Would have had to save maybe 2 or 3 laps of fuel, but was feeling a ton of pressure from Javi Sierra. But we will not be able to find out how that book ends here tonight, Zin.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tyler had to tow back to the pits. I suspect he probably had a broken right front suspension off of that, but certainly not the way that he wanted his race to end. I think he was in fantastic position to come away with a good haul of points here tonight, but unfortunately, as you said, we will not know the end to that story is that turns the battle over to the two Mustangs of Sierra and Geyer to battle it out on who's going to have the better fuel mileage. But the battle rages on here between the two V8 rocket ships, as you so eloquently put it, to the twin-turbo McLaren versus the naturally aspirated Corvette Z06. Childers closing in that gap on Banks. This is the closest that we've seen it since the pit stops. Be able to see if Childers can be able to get a run out of the next corner down the back straightaway into one of the heavy braking zones.
It's a matter of how you like your V8s in this battle, as in if you want to go with the flat plane of the Corvette or the twin turbo of the McLaren. But both of them, I don't care what anybody says. I love the sound of the Corvette. Not necessarily so much in iRacing. I think it's a little muted, but that high-pitched wail of flat plane V8 is something to behold.
Absolutely, and it's the car that definitely sounds better when you're watching it from the outboard cameras than it is sitting inside the cockpit. But hopefully the sound engine improves soon, as you referred to with the reverb off the walls. I'm sure they would make that Corvette sound even better. But speaking of walls, Childer had a little coming together, exiting the hairpin there. Doesn't look like it did much damage of anything, so probably a nice little 0x cosmetic car contact there, as he certainly lost no time, no ground at all to the McLaren of Troy Banks. He is still hounding him.
Yeah, the nice thing about street circuits is not necessarily mean so much in league racing as you may only get a point or two if you manage to come up with a 0x race in league racing. But in the officials, you can bang on those walls pretty much all you want, unless you really clobber it. You might get a 2x out of it, but really easy to pick up safety rating points in official iRacing sessions in a street circuit, where you can graze the walls all night long as you want, and you're just getting those 0x after 0x's.
Yeah, you're just dodging everybody else on track, but certainly don't have to have any disagreements with the walls. As opposed to a traditional road circuit where you can rack up a bunch of 1Xs, or in the case of Coda, you get one just looking at the white lines. But Dakota Geyer, the second of the two Mustangs, still chasing down Javi Sierra. Jonathan Cooper in the lone Acura, he's trying to run down Keanu Madero. This is a battle for position in class.
This could potentially be a battle for the win in class here, as in both these drivers have completed their second stops here at lap 29 for Cooper, lap 30 for Maduro. So we're still waiting for second stops for the rest of the AM class. So potential race winning battle here in AM class between Maduro and Cooper, as Maduro squeezes Cooper left of the wall. Cooper had to back out and tuck in behind, and almost gets into the back of Maduro again as they head through the final corner and the run down the front straight. We'll see if Jonathan Cooper gets enough for a run, potentially make a move into turn one here.
Yeah, if this was MSET Road America, that might have been flagged for a blocking call, but well, it's a street fight, so nothing is held back here, as Cooper's going to make a look down the inside of turn one, try and sell Madero a dummy, but he doesn't buy it. Has to tuck back in line behind the Mustang through the fountain section, one of the most picturesque parts of any circuit on the North American calendar for IMSA, I would say. But certainly seems like Cooper's got the measure of Maduro. It's just a matter of whether or not he can get around him. As the saying goes, Rob, catching him is one thing, passing him is a whole different manner.
Yeah, no, not a whole lot of opportunities here at Long Beach to make a move. You basically have the next heavy braking zone after this right-hand corner and turn one. That's about it. You really have to make hay out of those opportunities when they present themselves to you, as in. It looks like, unfortunately for Cooper, he's not going to be close enough to make the run this time by. Let's go back up to the battle between Sierra and Geyer, who Geyer has still not been able to find a way around Javi Sierra as they continue to battle for 4th and 5th place. And then Troy Banks and Michael Childers. Childers still unable to find a way around that flat black McLaren of Troy Banks. McLaren already one of the wider GT3s as it is, but Banks making that thing about another foot or two wider.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that Troy Banks has perfected over the season, certainly in leagues that I've raced with him. He is a very good defensive driver, able to hold his own against much faster competition. So I'm sure Childers is getting a first-class education in that at the moment. But As Dakota Geyer looks up the inside, nothing doing there on Javi Sierra. I was going to touch on the battle between Cooper and Maduro. They had our overall race leader, Terry Calgary Jr., looming behind them, so they have to be aware of that, and certainly don't want to get involved with the leader. And Calgary Jr. doesn't want to get involved and throw his race away, a la Jack Aiken as well. But as you said, for these two, they've done their pit stops. They have no more travels down pit road. It still remains to be seen whether Terry has to come down pit road a second time or not. But with such a commanding lead, over 8 seconds now, I have to imagine he's doing a bunch of lifting and coasting to try and make it to the end. And I have to wonder if Huber is doing the same as well. He's got 11 seconds in hand over the Ferrari of Sierra. So as much as we wanted to see how this played out, I suspect with the gaps that have developed after the pit stop, Rob, everybody's just kind of in a maintenance mode and lifting and coasting, trying to make sure that they don't have to do a second pit stop.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm looking at the lap times here for Terry Calgary Jr., and he's still pushing, seems to be about as quick a pace as he has all race years in. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't backed off with that 8.5 second gap that he has over Ken Huber. Potentially, he would only have to save about 3, maybe 4 laps. If he brings that pace down, he could probably cut a lap off the race itself, but we'll see if maybe with a couple more minutes here off the clock, if he really goes into fuel save mode as Michael Childers now. He's going to come into the pits for his second stop. He's going to try and relinquish, he's going to try and leapfrog Troy Banks by pit strategy. Banks still owes us another stop, so if Childers can get on and off pit road here, out and put a nice hot lap in on his out lap, potentially he could get ahead of Troy Banks, so he just couldn't find a way around on the race surface itself to make that move.
Yep, and when you can't do that, you try and do it through the pit lane. I did have to have a little chuckle there as the mirror popped back on to Childers' Corvette there, but they do get one faster pair, as unfortunately I think in Ryan Tyler's case he used his during his pit stop and then had an even harder whack on the wall in turn 1. But Javier Sierra, he's definitely used his, as that front nose is pristine once again. He's been able to start stretching a little bit over the Mustang compatriot of Geyer behind him. They were nose to tail before, but that gap is almost, just over 3/4 of a second now, but going to close up a little bit here with the draft coming into play. That's the other nice thing about street circuits, Rob. I mean, GT3s don't draft all that well outside of maybe Spa or Daytona, but you certainly don't really have it in play around a track like Long Beach. So it really comes down to how much mechanical grip you have compared to the guy you're battling and just how much smoother your inputs are around here.
Yeah, and with it being a fixed setup series, they can't alter anything other than brake bias as well. So especially these two Mustangs, they know they're driving identical equipment here. Oh, razzle dazzle there from Dakota Geyer, trying to throw Javi Sierra off his game into the braking section of turn 1. But Javi Sierra, he's been around for a while here. He's not going to fall for that, but Geyer trying to find anything in his bag of tricks he can here to get Javi Sierra off his game, try and make that pass stick. So right now, I don't know if I'm Dakota Geyer. I'm looking at the lap times and seeing that, the last couple of times I've been a tenth or two quicker here. I'm in behind him. I do still need to make another stop. Maybe I dive into the pits before him and try and leapfrog through pit strategy.
Yeah, I'm sure they're looking real keenly at their fuel calculators at the moment to try and figure out if they're going to have to make a second stop or not. As Jason Brothers, he has had a second moment in turn 1. This time it does not look like he's collected the wall, just ran along into the paved runoff area. So he's going to get deep in the brake zone for turn 1. And just carry too much speed, and instead of smacking the wall this time, he chose wisely to hook it to the right and disable traction control, flip a nice little 180 and resume racing. But certainly not the night that Brothers has wanted, as he had very good pace early on. But this battle's heating up as Maduro has now got Calgary Jr. separating him from Jonathan Cooper, and they've got the Corvettes of Childers in the mix as well, as Childers pulls off to the side. Thank you, sir. Very nicely done. Oh, goodness me. Jonathan Cooper giving a little hurry-up bump to Kerry Calgary Jr. there. He's wanting to resume the battle with Maduro.
Yeah, he's losing a bit of time here as Gallagher Jr. just trying to make it through these guys, not trying to get involved in anything, trying to utilize the draft here. Maduro going to make the pass around the outside here into turn one. Maduro going to back off early and let him take that spot, but that's exactly what Jonathan Cooper needed. He's now back on the tailpipes of Keon Maduro. They're going to renew their battle here, and they're currently 4th and 5th in class, but I'm having a look. I believe Justin Tarragogno is the only AM driver who's completed 2 stops, and he is 2.4 seconds up the track for him. So it's their battle for top 3 podium positions in AM class, as Troy Banks currently leading. It owes us another stop, as well as James Foreman in second place. And as I say that, Troy Banks now into the pits for his second stop.
Yep, another of our top 5 runners makes the call down pit road for their splash and dash to get to the end of this race. And I was just looking at timing and scoring, and Nick Tyrrell and Stan Hammond specifically, as those were the first 2 to make a very early stop. And for Nick Tyrrell, he's been enjoying that clean air for many minutes now. He was running almost a second a lap faster than Geyer and Sierra in front of him over the last couple of laps, and that's allowed him to close the gap down under 8 seconds just on pure pace. So if any of the cars in front of Tyrrell have to make another pit stop, could look at potentially stealing a podium out of this race.
Yeah, what a race that would be, serving an end line penalty, starting at the back of the field, making your way up through. It's one thing to do at certain tracks. You have a lot more space, say like a track, I don't know off the top of my head, say Road America. We have a lot longer track, a lot more opportunity for drivers to make mistakes. You don't have the walls to keep the drivers on track. You make a mistake, you go off track, you could be 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds before you're even back on the track, where a Long Beach, it may be a short circuit just under 2 miles in length, but you don't really have that opportunities in where a driver makes a mistake and you could really close that gap. You really have to try and find it on raw pace or pit strategy here, as we've seen Nick Tyrrell trying to attempt here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, while we were talking about that, Ken Huber came in and made his pit stop and maintained a top 3 position as he slots out ahead of Javi Sierra there. So I think that has answered the decision about where our top 3 currently sit, especially if you're Terry Calgary Jr. Huber only was stationary for 7.7 seconds in the box, taking that little bit of fuel he needs to make it to the end of this race, the last 7 minutes or so. So for Calgary Jr., I wonder if his strategy is just run like the devil, build up this massive lead, and then come into the pits for a splash and come back out, and it's like nothing happened.
Yeah, I think right now, Terry Calgary Jr., barring bidding it into a wall or getting wrapped up in somebody else's misfortunes, has this one in hand. I think Huber probably had a different strategy after that first stop, but unfortunately Nick Tyrrell forced his hand by trying to keep him in behind him, and he had to take alternate strategy. Now he's got Javi Sierra in behind him. We know Sierra and Guy are probably going to owe us another stop here. Both those drivers came in on lap 20, the same lap Huber did, so they're going to have to come in for potentially another little splash and dash here for them. So Huber doesn't necessarily need to battle with these 2 guys if he's confident that they're going to need to come in for fuel, but we did see Sierra tucked in behind Ryan Tyler for a number of laps there, and I'm wondering if maybe that allowed him to save a little bit of fuel, although the Mustang, a tough car to save fuel in, it's very adverse to sipping on the straw. It wants the whole big gulp.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it parked outside your local 7-Eleven getting a big gulp every afternoon for sure. It's not exactly a momentum car either, as opposed to something like a McLaren where you can do a lot of lifting and coasting and rolling a lot of speed through the corners. And speaking of the McLaren, you saw Nick Tyrrell pop into the shot there at the back of frame as he's trying to run down the 2 Mustangs in front of him. He's in a perfect position for if Sierra and Geyer do have to make a pit stop. I was saying that gap was under 7 seconds. That gap is now under 4 seconds as he's still running. Well, that particular last time around, he was 2 seconds faster than Sierra and Geyer. So traffic, I'm sure, was partly to blame for that one. But Calgary Jr. has entered the pits. Well, I think there's your answer, Rob. There is no one stopping this race, as if the master can't do it, I don't think anybody else is able to.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he actually tried. Zin as I'm looking at his lap times, he really didn't back off. He needed to maybe dip down into the 121s after that second stop when he had that nice 8, 10, 12-second gap over Ken Huber. He could have afforded to take about a second or two a lap off. I think that might have got him to where he needed to be, but he's sitting comfortably up front, still 14 seconds ahead of Ken Huber in what would be second place here once Jose Sierra pops in for his pit cycle. Actually, I shouldn't say anything. We don't know if Sierra's saved enough fuel here as well. He's gone an extra lap than Calgary Jr. He did pit on the same lap 20 that he did, so we'll see if Sierra pops into the pits here this time by, or if maybe he's got that Ferrari sipping here tonight versus Big Open. No, he's coming in there now too as well for that splash, so that should give Terry Calgary Jr. back the lead as he's now in the final corner. He'll navigate around there and down the front stretch to retake his top spot.
Yeah, I had to figure that was a little bit inevitable from Sierra after Calgary Jr. had to come down and make his 6-second stop for fuel, but the beneficiary and all that, Nick Tyrrell and Stan Hammonds, they've jumped, and they're going to jump again as Javi Sierra now dives in to make his last pit stop again, so that's going to promote Nick Tyrrell up to 4th and Stan Hammonds up into 5th.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Looks like we have Jose Sierra and Javi Sierra on track together once the pit cycles finish up here. But Hammonds, looks like Hammonds not going to get ahead of Sierra. Oh, he does at the last second there. Jose Sierra, just that half a second too late or too long in his stall. Hammonds can take that spot away. So back to 3rd and 4th for Nick Tyrrell and Stan Hammonds. They're 5.5 seconds or so back of Ken Huber. I don't think they're going to be able to chase him down for second place. It looks like the battle is going to be between the two of them potentially for that final spot on the podium. And a little farther back here, Troy Banks, hats off to him. He was able to get in and out of the pits on his second stop there's in and still stay ahead of Maduro and Cooper, although they're lurking on the back bumper with only about 2 laps to go here in this race. It's just a matter of Troy Banks doing what he's been doing all race here when he had Childers in behind him, making that McLaren as wide as he possibly can.
Yeah, as expected, seeing a lot of squirms coming out of these cars exiting the corners. So I think it's going to come down to who's got that extra little bit of life left in their tires, as Troy Banks has got to hold off the fearsome duo of Maduro and Troy Banks. As Banks is actually going to pull over to the side and let Maduro and Cooper go. I'm not sure if that's strategic, or maybe he brushed a wall and picked up some damage there, or maybe he was serving a slowdown. I didn't see anything get flagged on scoring, but not sure what the strategy call was there.
I didn't see a yellow pop up, so I'm not sure what that was. And I'm wondering if I have a look at his time in the stall, only 6.3 seconds, one of the quicker second pit stops here. So I wonder if maybe he just doesn't quite have enough fuel. He's having to save a little bit here. But either way, Maduro and Cooper back up front. They're going to battle for top spot in the AM class here. They'll have this lap plus one more here. So if Jonathan Cooper wants to try and make a move around Maduro, this is where he needs to do it. And Maduro needs to keep that big old Mustang out front of the svelte little dustbuster of Cooper if he wants to take the win.
Yeah, and I was just looking in the point standings as well, thinking that maybe Banks, recognizing that he's not in the hunt as much as Cooper is, but Cooper's currently sitting 4th and Banks is down at 7th, so not too far apart, but maybe just realizing he's not going to have the pace or the tire life to hold off these two and doesn't want to interfere with the battle. So if that's the case, hats off to Troy Banks for recognizing that and letting these two duke it out to the end. We got coming up on the white flag, I imagine, here very shortly, Rob.
Yeah, Terry Calgary Jr. took the white flag last time by. He's heading into turn 6, it looks like, on my track map. So these drivers pick up the white this time by, and I'm having a look at the pit stop times. It looked like Jonathan Cooper took at least 2 tires his last stop, and I believe Maduro might have took 4, 22 seconds in his stall. That's roughly the time for 4 tires on a GT3. So he could be right there as in with Troy Banks, only 6 seconds in his stall. His tires might just not have enough gumption left in them to hold off Cooper and Maduro.
Yeah, Troy's asked everything and then some from his... I don't know if they're running Pirellis or Michelins in this series, but whatever it is, he's asked everything and then some out of them, and unfortunately just doesn't have as much to carry up into that battle. But for tonight, it's going to be Terry Calgar Jr., an absolutely dominant victory here tonight. 15 seconds over Ken Huber.
And there's Huber himself now into the final corner for him. He'll come across the line and take second spot, and then Nick Terrell right in behind. Best he could get is about 2 seconds, 3 seconds back of Huber. Hammond's gonna have to settle for fourth, and looks like Jose Sierra gonna come home in fifth. But Maduro and Cooper, they're continuing their run down the back stretch here. Zin, doesn't look like Cooper gonna be close enough to make a move here. Looks like Maduro, barring any catastrophic mistake here into the final hairpin, should have this one wrapped up.
Yeah, no, Cooper, he's going to get everything he's got. He's going to try and get the nose tucked in for a better run, but the torque of that V8 Mustang is just going to come out on top. And it's going to be Keanu Maduro coming home tonight as your AM winner, just ahead of Jonathan Cooper and Troy Banks.
And nice run by all three of those drivers. All in the same camera shot, crossing the line. Well done for them. Javi Sierra going to finish up just ahead of Dakota Geyer. That's 10th and 11th place. Michael Childers, what could have been for him, was battling with Troy Banks early on. He's going to finish up 5th in class, and that's going to be a 12th overall for him. But looks like James Foreman going to be our final driver across the line, and he will make things official here tonight. Zin at Long Beach for round 6 of this. What are we doing? Is it 12-week season here at Pony Express Sim Racing?
Yeah, just another classic race at Long Beach. Fantastic action up and down the grid. And, well, that's what you love about street circuits, isn't it, Rob?
Absolutely. And street circuits are always my favorite. I said off top of the hop. Love them. They always provide great racing, and they always look good, too, as well. But let's take a look at the results in the pro class. Terry Calgar Jr., as we saw, takes the win, led 41 of the, 44 laps, I think it was. Ken Huber going to come home in second place. Nick Terrell in third. Stan Hammons in fourth. And Jose Sierra are going to round out the top 5. Javi Sierra in sixth. Geyer Brothers, Tyler round out the top 9. And Travis Roberto did not grid up for this one. How'd things finish up in AM class, Sin?
Yeah, as you saw, Keanu Madero coming out on top, narrowly ahead of Jonathan Cooper, with Troy Banks following them home in P3. Coming home in P4, Justin Targdagno, Michael Childers rounding out your top 5, followed by Keith Roycroft, James Foreman, Russell Abraham coming home in a solid 8th position, Brandon Dittmer coming home in 9th, Joshua Suxy rounds out your top 10, followed by Kevin Cornelius and Ryan Javan. And with the AM finish here tonight, we're going to talk to our winner, Keanu Maduro. Keanu, do you have a copy?
I do.
Well, congratulations on the win tonight. You had to earn it, holding off Jonathan Cooper and Troy Banks there at the end. But talk us through what your strategy was, and were you able to execute it, or did you have to make some changes on the fly?
Yeah, my strategy basically going into tonight was to try and get as much fuel in, have one tire change while I was ahead, and I think it kind of worked out, because on the last few laps, when it worked out, because when everybody was pitting, I held my position and I still made my way back into first place. When I pitted the last time and I came out in front of I forgot the guy that I was battling at the end with, I was on cold tires, and I just had to hold him off until the tires warmed up, and it worked out.
Yeah, we were wondering up in the booth who was taking 2 tires, who was taking 4, and who was taking none. And looked like based on your pit times, you decided on the all 4 strategy, and in the end, it looks like it paid off for you. So, but excellent result for you here tonight. How's your feelings going into next week?
Next week, I don't know. I'm gonna try and do the same thing. I'm just gonna go in there with the same strategy, get some practice, and hopefully the confidence for next week would be there.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you get out of here and celebrate your victory here tonight, any folks you'd love to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank all the guys that came out. You guys up in Racer Nexus booth that shows up every night for all these league races and broadcasts. The viewers and the league coordinators of ponies, and my wife and friends and family.
Absolutely can't do it without the wife and family, but that is your AM winner here tonight, Keanu Madero, and hope to speak to you next week after a great race at Fuji.
All right, me too. Have a good night.
Okay, and let's catch up with our race winner here, Terry Cowger Jr. Terry, you put it on pole. Kent Huber was able to take the lead away for a couple laps. You were able to snatch it back, and then you bring it home in top spot. Was there any thought when you had that 8 to 10 second lead over Huber that maybe you could feel safe enough to get yourself home with only one stop?
No, I never thought I could get there on a one stop. I was hoping just to pick up the extra lap and do 220 lap stints. But once I noticed that I was slowly pulling away from Ken, once I got to a comfortable margin, I backed it down a little bit more just to try to save some tire and save a little bit more fuel, as the track was starting to get pretty toasty out there.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. I think we checked just before the race we came on. I think the track temp was somewhere around 96 degrees or so. And then by midway, it was already up to about 112. I think I checked a little later on. It was nearing 115 or so. How did that affect the tires and the grip level as the race went on? Was it getting a little greasy?
Yes, the car started. I took tires on the first stop just because I saw what the track temp was doing and I wanted to play it safe. But even with the 3 tires that I took, it still was hurting that one tire that I didn't take pretty bad, and it was getting pretty greasy and slipping and sliding a little bit on me. So lap times seemed like they started, I had to back them down even more, or it just wanted to slide the nose.
Yeah, you came into this one leading the points championship. You're going to exit leaving the championship too as well. But things aren't all that comfortable. One bad race, and you could have a couple of drivers right on your tailpipe. How comfortable are you heading into the back half of the season here?
We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm feeling okay. The BOP that we have, especially with the fixed setups this season, is making me work a little bit harder to stay competitive, and especially when I have to make my way up through the field. Spa, the car was just out to lunch. It didn't have the speed or anything, so I had to come up with some crazy pit strategy to pull off, I think, the top 3 that I did there. But it's tougher this season with the BOP, and all the cars seem to be closer together until you get to certain tracks, and then you can see the Porsche kind of struggles at some of them pretty bad.
Yeah, Brian and I were talking earlier on where it was nice that I think we only had the one Ferrari in the field here, where across the other leagues here in Race Texas, we're seeing any of them in the fixed, running the fixed setup. It seems to be really Ferrari dominant, and looks like the back half of the season going to be more Mustang dominant. But nice to see only the one Ferrari, a nice spread of different manufacturers across the Pony Express League here. But before we let you go here, Terry, anybody want to give a shout out to cheering you on and helping you each week?
All the guys that helped me put on the show, Nick and Keith, you guys for doing this broadcast. You guys put on an awesome show. I go back the next day and watch it while I'm at lunch at work. Other than that, I want to send a shout out to Paul Skip, one of our racers. He had a little bit of an accident on a bicycle, and so he won't be around for a little. We may not see him for a little while. So wish him a speedy recovery. And other than that, just thanks for everybody that shows up and puts on a heck of a show, and a good league.
Excellent stuff. And yeah, get well, Paul Skip, so we can see you back on track here racing with the rest of the squad. Congrats, Terry. Best of luck heading into next week, and no doubt we'll see you battling at the sharp end of the field again. Take care.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, Zin, that's going to wrap things up here at Long Beach. Any final thoughts from you?
Just fantastic action as we kick off the second half of the season of this 10-round championship. But yeah, as you said, Long Beach is a favorite amongst myself and yours as well, and the action up and down the grid certainly didn't disappoint. We're going to another fantastic track next week in Fuji. I love Fuji. It produces some fantastic racing as well. Has a nice blend of strategy coming into play, as well as being able to utilize the draft down that super long front straightaway. So I'm expecting a lot of action as well next week, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, expect to see the Mustangs and McLarens and the Mercedes stretching their legs next week at Fuji, the longest straightaway in permanent road circuits. Love racing there. So that'll do it for us here at Racers Nexus and the Pony Express Sim Racing 1 Hour Endurance League. We'll catch you back here next week, same time, same place. Until then, bye for now.